Hello, good day everyone. Um, can you guys just confirm if you can hear me? All right. Good afternoon, everyone. If you can hear me, can you please just make a comment? Just want to know if my sound is clear. Please just make a comment. All right. Good day, guys. If the sound is clear, can you please just make a comment? Okay. Loud and clear. The sound is very low. Okay. I hope the sound will improve as we go along. Okay. I hope the sound will improve as we go along. So today we're just going to have an exclusive webinar with regards to the Zimbabwe exemption permit and the Lesotho exemption permit. As we all are aware and as we understand that there was a press briefing by the minister last week, the Minister of the Department of Home Affairs in South Africa, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, he briefed the media with regards to the position of the government on what is going to happen next for the Lesotho exemption permit and the Zimbabwe exemption permit. So we want to have a discussion and just clarify the points of what is going to happen next and what is the process to follow going forward. So number one, we'll be very brief. We're not going to take much time. So firstly, we want to talk about the Zimbabwe exemption permit. Okay, so the Lesotho exemption permit and the Zimbabwe exemption permit, they are both special permits that the Minister of Home Affairs in South Africa can grant under Section 31 of the Immigration Act. It's a special permit that is created when special circumstances allow, for a certain nationality in South Africa. So that is the exemption permit. Now, the minister made some very interesting changes, and we have to follow every step. Most of you guys, if you're on this exemption permit, you understand that the VFS sent you a press briefing statement over the weekend, if you did receive it, and they also attached a link of Directive 4, which is the breakdown of how the process is going to take place and how it's going to be unraveled with regards to the Department of Home Affairs. Now, I want to take it very slow. There are different timelines that are specifically listed, and I'll try to break them down so that we all move into the same direction. So firstly, we all understand that based on Directive 2 of the Department of Home Affairs, the Zimbabwe exemption permits, they are currently expiring on 31 December 2023, okay? And then based on the court order or the court application, the permits were extended to 28 June 2024. Okay, that's the same date. So the Lesotho exemption permit is expiring 31 December 2023 because they don't have any court application with the Department of Home Affairs. They don't have an additional grace period that the Zimbabwe exemption permit holders have, which is expiring on 28 June 2024. Okay. Now, I want to put across now that firstly, if you are a Zimbabwe exemption permit holder and you have applied for a waiver or you've applied for any other permit, according to the statistics released by the minister, he said that there are about more than 70,000 ZEP holders who have already applied for a waiver. Now remember, a waiver is the first step when you're applying for a general work visa. So it simply means that there are 70,000 plus people who have applied already for a general work visa and they are currently waiting for their waivers, or some have even applied for the general work permit itself, considering that the waiver might have been issued. So that is the direction, and that is the myriad of the number of people that have applied for their Zimbabwe exemption permit. Now, here are the points to fully understand. I'll try to explain them. Firstly, the exemption permit holders, your visa is expiring 31 December 2023, the grace period. And by the court application, it's expiring 28 June 2024. Now, if you have applied a permit, or you are currently waiting for an outcome of your permit, whether it's a waiver or it's a permit, according to the Department of Home Affairs, they said more than 70,000 waivers and more than 10,000 people have applied for other permit types, which are not the general work visa through the waiver. So for those category of people, they are in a different class, okay? So I want to split the people. There are people that are Zimbabwe exemption permit holders that have not done anything as yet. They're either in a process, they're working on something, or they're waiting on an outcome, but they've not done anything. And then there's a class of people that have applied for something and they're currently waiting for an outcome. Those are totally different people, and I want you to understand. Now, the minister is saying those two classes of people, there are going to be different procedures that they have to follow. Firstly, the Minister of Home Affairs has now given a further 12 months grace period by virtue of Directive 4. Now, is this 12 months grace period, it simply means instead of the 28 June 2024 for the Zimbabwe exemption permit holders, and instead of the 31 December 2023 for the Lesotho exemption permit holders, the permits have now been given a further 12 months grace period. You have been given a further 12 months grace period, which means now all the Zimbabwe exemption permit holders and the Lesotho exemption permit holders, now the grace period that has been given to them is until 31 December 2024. I mean, it's not really 31 December. The minister issued a directive from the minister issued the directive from 29 November, so it's going to be until 29 November 2024. Okay, so that is the issue, 29 November 2024. So everyone has been given a further 12 months to now make specific actions and specific decisions with regards to what is your next step in South Africa. So just to repeat that so that you don't confused with the dates. Number one, all the Zimbabwe exemption permit holders, you were given a grace period that was expiring 31 December 2023 by virtue of Directive 2 by the Minister of Home Affairs. And then by the Helen Suzman court application, the grace period was extended to 28 June 2024. Now, on the press briefing by the Minister of Home Affairs on 29 November, he has then given a further grace period of a further 12 months, which means your grace period is now until 29 November 2024. Now, you've got 12 months, which are very important for you to take your next action. You are given further 12 months. This applies to both Lesotho exemption permit holders and the Zimbabwe exemption permit holders. We're given 12 months to make an action. Now, remember I started by saying there are two classes of people. There are the Zimbabwe exemption permit holders who have not done anything as yet. They belong to the 100,000 number. Okay, I mean, it's just an estimate because the Zimbabwe exemption permit, ideally, there were about 170,000 plus, and at the moment, there are about 80,000 plus people who have made some applications, 70,000 plus on waivers, and 10,000 plus on other permits. So now the remainder of those people simply means they have not done anything as yet. Now, what's going to happen is that we are going to enter into a new phase of a new exemption permit. Okay, so remember the exemption permit, just to give you a background, an exemption permit does not continue because it's a special permit. So every time the minister issued a directive for another exemption permit, it comes with a different name. It comes with a different name. That's why you started with the DZP, and then you had the ZEP. You know, they are always changing the names, and now we're still going to have another name. We don't know what it will be called, but there will be another name. Okay. Now, what the minister is saying is that the Zimbabwe exemption permit, we are going to introduce, and for the Lesotho exemption permit, we're introducing another category of an exemption permit, another type of an exemption permit, which will be for 2 years, which means everyone now has been given an exemption permit that is going to be for 2 years, which is going to expire by end of the year in 2025. Okay, so there's an exemption permit for 2 years. But whilst there's an exemption permit that is going to be valid for 2 years, you have been given a grace period to make some action until 29 November 2024, which means between now and 29 November 2024, you should have made your application for the new exemption permit. That is how long the grace period is. Now, let's talk about those two classes of people. If you have applied for a permit, if you have applied for a waiver, or if you have applied for any other type of a visa category, and you are waiting for your outcome or it's still in process, you are exempted from applying the new exemption permit, which means all of you are not supposed to apply the new exemption permit. This is the position. So if you've already applied and if you belong to that class of 80,000 plus people, then you don't need to apply any permit. Okay, so remember there are 70,000 plus who have applied for waivers, and there are 10,000 plus who have applied for other permits. If you fall under the category of those people, you don't need to apply for the new exemption permit. That is what the directive had said, and it has specifically stated that. If you read even paragraph 8 of the press statement, it specifically states that. And then for those people that have not applied anything at all by this time, if you had not made any move with regards to changing the conditions of your exemption permit, then you are now mandated, you are now obligated to apply for an exemption permit. You have to apply for an exemption permit. And if you apply for an exemption permit right now, then which means before you apply for another permit, you're going to start with the exemption permit. Okay, that's what's going to happen. So if you have not done anything, if you had not made an application, if you had not made any change of conditions, you are supposed to apply for the new exemption permit, which is supposed to expire in 2025. And you have been given between now and 2024 November to make that application. Now, I'm going to break it down why it's very, very critical for you to take an action very early. The minister has, of course, confirmed that there's going to be a special task team that will be responsible for these applications. So they are also going to ensure that the VFS is going to push these applications so that they operate and they move very fast. But there is no assurance because we know that currently there's a backlog at the Department of Home Affairs. There is a backlog at the moment. So because there's a backlog at the moment, so which means the permits are going to take some time, and this is going to increase the demand of the applications within the system of the Home Affairs. So you have to expect delays. So because you have to expect delays, you have to act fast to apply for your exemption permit and not do it the last minute. You don't want to reach 2025 without a permit. So that is the current position. You have to change your conditions and apply for the new exemption permit. And if you already applied, you don't need to make any action. That is the condition that is there. The minister said we will speak with VFS to expedite the exemption permits, and we are yet to see that because we know the current backlog that is there. We know the current delay that is there with the current applications processing. So it is a bit of a challenge. So you don't need to wait. So it's very unfortunate that those people who were already in the middle of working on their applications to change conditions, now they have to now stop the process that they were doing and apply for the new exemption permit. Okay, we are yet to see how they're going to implement it, because if someone if I know people are still going to try to submit before 31 December, but the directive issued by the minister was from 29 November. It was backdated from 29 November. It was not future dated. So the directive is already operational. So there are people who might want to take their chance and still go to the VFS and submit, but it's a chance. Okay, it's definitely a chance because they have already clarified that the only applications that ZEP and Lesotho exemption permit holders are applying right now, the only applications they are going to do is the new exemption permit. But those who had applied already before the promulgation of the Gazette, then they are allowed to wait in the country, and they still have a further 12 months to wait for the application. Okay, so that is the current position. Now, in addition to that, there is something new that the minister added into the directive, and I'll try to read it for everyone's benefit. They say that if you have children that were born in South Africa, you have to register your children. You have to register your children. That is what they have registered. So this there's never been a call like this, a specific call like this from the minister to say people must register their children, but we've been specifically told that you have to register your children. So we call upon everybody to ensure that they register their children. Yeah, you have to register your children because you might be able to reapply for the permit, considering that your children have been registered. So they want to make sure you register your children. Okay, that's the most important part. Now, to just wrap it up for everyone, I know there are many questions, so we might not have the time to address those questions right now. This was supposed to be very brief, But just to sum it up and close it up, everyone, if you have not applied for anything, according to Directive 4 issued by the Minister of the Department of Home Affairs, Directive 4 specifically states that there is a 12-month grace period from 29 November 2023 until 29 November 2024, whereby if you have not made any application, you are supposed to proceed to apply for the new exemption permit. It's going to be an unnecessary cost. We hoped that they could have made it another grace period, but no, they want you to apply for another exemption permit, which means you are still to change conditions in the future. What would happen ordinarily? I've seen people asking me that what happens if I just want to proceed applying what I was already doing? In that instance, we are here to see if VFS is going to deny those applications. People want to still insist making their applications. We'll see, we'll find out if VFS will reject those applications. But if you've been working on your application, we are now proceeding to ensure that those people who are already in the process are supposed to submit now before 31 December and take the process further. The reason why I believe those who are already working on the applications, the reason why we believe it should be fair for them to still submit is that the grace period currently is expiring 28 June 2024 by reason of the court application. So ordinarily they should be allowed to submit their applications that they're already working on because the ZEP grace period is still valid and operational. But the minister's statement was counting a year from 29 November. So there's a bit of a contradiction there, and I'm sure it will be aligned operationally as people start making their applications and their submissions. That should be everything today, and thank you. Should you have any questions, you can just see our contact details in the comment section, and we should be able to discuss and assist you further. Our offices in Centon, South Africa, or in Harare, Zimbabwe, should be able, or in East London, South Africa, they should be able to assist you from wherever you are in terms of getting further information. If you need assistance, you can reach out to our contact details in the comment section, and we wish you the best. Thank you. That's everything for us today.